Pokemon has just announced they're planning on reprinting scarce sets. They're planning on increasing overall print runs to address demand. But here's what's crazy. This one move could crash the overall Pokemon Scalper market we've been seeing form. Let's break down what's actually happening with these Pokemon reprints. But first, we must understand how it all started. The natural flow of Pokemon cards is like a roller coaster. It has ups and it has downs, and it's constantly switching between those two. Very rarely is it staying steady. We've seen this with X and Y, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, and Scarlet and Violet. First, let's take a look at the lows. Every new series comes out with a base set, and this is when Pokemon's always at its lowest. I don't know if this is because there's no real new gimmicks to hook players into wanting to collect the cards, or maybe it's just because since it's a new series, there's been no real new fans, no new generations of fans from the games yet because the games haven't been out long enough. Heck, half the time they release base set before the games come out. So I think that could be one factor. Another one could be they don't put any of the older, more popular Pokemon in the set, instead focusing on all the new Pokemon that don't really have fans yet. Because demand is down, Pokemon starts printing to demand. It's like any company. It doesn't want to waste money printing too much when it's not selling, but they also want to print enough when it is selling. However, here's the tricky thing. It's like attempting to drive to the same location as someone who left a day early. It's extremely difficult to do. This is one of the most important parts of understanding what causes the demand, and hopefully one that fans of Pokemon can kind of start understanding, have a little forgiveness for them once they understand. That is, Pokemon's print schedule is close to a year long. That means when they want something increased or they want it decreased, it takes usually a year to see demand. So when you hear about Destined Rivals being printed, it usually started the process a year before. I don't know if that's actual physical printing or if they start sending schematics to the shop, but that's usually how long it takes. Ever since they purchased their own printers. Before that, it was a year and a half when they used other companies to print for them. That was longer because those other companies had other customers that they would have to prioritize, so they couldn't just turn on the printers right when Pokemon snapped their fingers. But now, the printers they own exclusively prints for them. Hopefully, as time goes on, they'll get more efficient at getting those machines up and running. Now, as that third, fourth, and fifth set really starts coming out in a Pokemon series, that's really when we start seeing printing match demand. Now, as the third, fourth, and fifth sets start coming out, we start seeing demand slowly increase because now fans are starting to get connected with the newer Pokemon. Pokemon starts including some of the OG Pokemon like Charizard, Dragonite, that everyone already loves. So now more and more people are buying Pokemon cards than before. And before the Pokemon Company knows it, demand is starting to outpace supply. When Pokemon markets demand outpace supply, it's less of an easy curve up and more like a sudden spike. Like flipping a light switch where increasing printing is more like accelerating an engine to a car. It takes a little more time. Now, this is the end of the cycle where prices start dropping and becoming cheaper and cheaper. We started seeing that with Silver Tempest, Lost Origin, as well as Crown Zenith. By the time Sword and Shield ended, products were pretty easy to find, prices were pretty low, and then Scarlet and Violet base set came out, boom, prices were bottomed out once again, and that's the beginning of the cycle. The reason Pokemon starts printing so much less is because they just got off a high, they had to decrease the supply for, and then it just constantly does this up and down, up and down. The Pokemon Company just announced that they are fighting back against these scalpers by ramping up printing and fighting against these people who are buying up all the product and selling them at crazy high prices. They said they are ramping up production on upcoming sets and will be going back to previous sets that are hard to find currently. This flood of cards make it harder and harder for scalpers to buy up all the product. This flood of cards make it harder and harder for scalpers to corner the market. When Pokemon makes these type of moves, the entire community can feel them. Before 2019, Pokemon were already printing 2 billion cards a year, and it's about to get crazier. But who's actually winning with this increase in printing? Well, that is actual collectors and people who play the game and love Pokemon for what it is. These are folks who have been priced out of the game because cards are starting to get higher than their monthly rent payments. Pokemon is unique because it's both a collectible card game and a competitive card game. So you have the younger generations who tend to collect a lot more, just want to see their favorite Pokemon, and then you see a higher older population in the competitive sense. I believe it's around 70% are above 18 who play competitively. Regular fans just want to collect their cards and play the game without feeling like they're going into debt and breaking the bank. Pokemon does not care at all what the market price is. All they want to make is what they sell to distributors for, and they just want more and more fans getting into the hobby, making it the largest media franchise in history. And the only way it got that big is because it does give its fans exactly what they want. And Pokemon's about to print to demand. Even though demand is high, that's a sign the Pokemon product floodgates are about to burst. So get your raincoats, get your umbrellas, and think what this means for the community. By making more cards available, Pokemon's putting the power back into the players and the collectors' hands. The company's strategy is pretty simple. Print, run the scalpers out, make as much product as possible, so no one wants to flip the product anymore. More cards in circulation means less artificial price hikes. And isn't that how it should be? A game that everyone can play and love and can actually afford to play. Now, the only thing I'm wondering is, are we going to see this by November? Or is it not going to die down till the next series comes out with the megas, like we see almost with every other trend? It goes high and then it really doesn't die off until the new series comes out. So, only time will tell. Let me know in the comment section down below. When do you think that excess printing is finally going to get to the public?